Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, we are featuring a Shelf Byte book review. I am sharing my thoughts on the thriller title False Witness by Karen Slaughter. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the podcast, and if you're new here, welcome. I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and today I'm sharing a Shelf Byte review. A Shelf Byte features spoiler-free book and audiobook reviews in 10 minutes or less, so this is the perfect place to get the quick rundown on if you should read a book or not. If you'd like to chat with me about the book reviewed in this episode, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Shelf Addiction, and you can also find me over on the Shelf Addiction Book Club, which can be found in the Book Club's app and on Facebook. The links are in the show notes. A quick note before I get started, if you enjoy this show and would like to offset production and hosting costs, please consider becoming a Shelf Addiction Patreon subscriber. You'll gain access to exclusive Patreon-only content, including bonus episodes, after shows, and more in video format, especially for you. If you prefer to share your love for this show in a non-monetary way, I would love that as well. You can do that by sharing this podcast with your book nerd friends on your favorite social media spaces. That would really help me out. It would also allow people to find this podcast. I appreciate you for doing so. Thank you in advance. With that said, let's jump right on into today's review. So I just wanted to quickly say, you guys, I'm so excited to be back with another Shelf Byte. It's been a very long time since I've posted one on the podcast feed. I just guess I hadn't been in the mood, but the mood has returned, and I'm glad to be able to share something that I enjoyed with you. So we're going to start with the stats, and then I'll jump into my opinion. Today, I am sharing the thriller title False Witness, written by Karen Slaughter, narrated by Kathleen Early. The audiobook has a runtime of 18 hours and 39 minutes in the unabridged version. The hardcover has 440 pages, published by William Morrow and Blackstone Publishing, respectively. Released July 20th, 2021. So I like to provide a portion of the synopsis, at least for those of you that haven't read it. So I'm not going to read it in full, but you'll get the highlights, and this is coming from Goodreads.com. Leia has worked hard to build what looks like a normal life. She has a good job as a defense attorney, a daughter doing well in school, and even her divorce is relatively civilized. Her life is just as unremarkable as she hoped it would be. But Leia's ordinary life masks a childhood which was far from average, a childhood tarnished by secrets, broken by betrayal, and finally torn apart by a devastating act of violence. Then a case lands on her desk, defending a wealthy man accused of rape. It's the highest profile case she's ever been given, a case which could transform her career if she wins. But when she meets the accused, she realizes that this is no coincidence and that he's chosen her as his attorney. She knows him, and he knows her. More to the point, he knows what happened 20 years ago and why Leia has spent 2 decades running. If she can't get him acquitted, she'll lose much more than the case. The only person who can help her is her younger, estranged sister, Callie, the last person Leia would ever want to ask for help. But suddenly, she has no choice. Okay, so that was a lot. Where shall I start? Okay, first up, there are trigger warnings for this title. You should be aware there is, as I just said in the synopsis, there is rape, there is murder, there is abuse, there is sexual situations, there is cursing. Anything bad you can think of is probably in this book. But even with that, I do feel that Karen Slaughter managed these topics in a delicate way. And she's hard-hitting, right? She's hard-hitting with how she describes things and situations. So it's definitely not for the faint at heart. If you can tolerate descriptive things happening that are not too pleasant, then this would be okay for you. This is definitely not a cozy mystery. It's the furthest thing from it. So if you like this style of thrillers and mysteries, then again, this would be the book for you. Now, I personally really enjoyed it. Y'all know, if you listen to this podcast at all, I like a little bit more of the rougher thrillers. I like where I can't figure out exactly what's happening. And to be quite frank, Karen Slaughter nailed it. Let me tell you, there was one point in the book, if you follow me on Goodreads, I made a comment like, wow, I didn't see that coming. And I didn't. She like totally surprised me. And that happens so infrequently. The book was well paced. So it was like I was able to just keep going and going and going. I wanted to find out what would happen next. There wasn't a lot of lag. There wasn't a lot of pages and hours being spent on plot that took you nowhere or characters that weren't acting, right? None of that was happening in this book. The characters were interesting and dynamic, and although I could not really relate to them per se, I definitely felt, I felt their pain, especially the way she kicks this book off with such an event. So the time is spent between the present and the past. And in the past, we experience what Leia and Callie went through in their teens and what happened to them and what they did and what they covered up. And then we have the present day with them also dealing with the fallout of that and dealing with this client who I don't want to say exactly who he is because you'll find out pretty quickly if you read the book. But it's shocking. The beginning is shocking. It's like wham, bam, and then you're like, what happens? So yeah, I really like when the beginning really pulls you in, and Karen Slaughter does that masterfully. And then she manages to take you along for the ride and keep you on that steady clip of a pace where you don't want to put the book down. You just want to keep reading or listening. So that was excellent about that. I think if I had to give it a negative criticism, it would be that some of the stuff was really over the top. And by over the top, I mean like some of the things that these characters were doing. I guess when you're in a fight or flight mode, you might perform in that manner. Or if you were defending someone that you cared about, you might perform in that manner. But there were a couple instances where it's like, wow, we're doing that. Like, for example, Leia's husband, there's one scene where, he finds out the history and he loses his mind. When he sees a certain person, he just turns into a different person. He's doing things that Leia could have never imagined him doing. And I'm like, wow, he went from 0 to 2000. It's like unbelievable, to be honest. Unbelievable, but entertaining. So, and also I liked how things were resolved. She tied up everything in a bow. There was nothing left unturned, nothing left without resolution. And she had a realistic ending. You guys, that is so important to me. You have such a serious story with serious consequences. Things happen. And this is like life. Shit happens. Things don't work out. There's not a happily ever after, or you can get as happy as you can get in that situation with those circumstances. And I really appreciate that about this book. Now, I did listen on audiobook, and I thought the narrator did an exceptional job. I really enjoyed her. And I did listen to the narration at 1.5 speed. I don't know if I've listened to Kathleen Early before, but her voice was spectacular. And I could tell between the two sisters, I could tell the different characters, so she did alter her voice a little bit. And she was a pleasure to listen to. I think you could probably even listen to her on 1.0 speed and be okay, but I naturally have just gravitated to listening at a faster pace. So that 18 hours and 39 minutes flew by with a quickness, and it was enjoyable. Every moment was enjoyable. So let's go ahead and rate the book. I would rate this book 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. 4 out of 5. It was really close to a 5 for me, but there was just something that was holding me back. But don't get me wrong. I recommend this book fully. I recommend it to everyone who likes dark thrillers, dark mystery and suspense. If you are about that life, this book is for you. And I will definitely be reading more Karen Slaughter. This was my first time reading her. I picked up this title as a recommendation. It was such a joy. I will read more by her. I don't know when, I don't know what, but I will be picking up something else by Karen Slaughter in the near future. So that is it for today, you guys. Thank you for checking out today's Shelf Byte. I hope you enjoyed the review. Let me know if you do by sharing this episode or commenting somewhere on any podcast platform, or join the Shelf Addiction group and we can talk about this book there. You can comment on the podcast or anything else you'd like to do in our private group, which can be found on the Book Club's app and on Facebook. So that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you for being here. And until next time, happy reading and take care of yourselves. Bye, guys. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.